How many times have you went to plop down on the couch with your partner or your family and you immediately get hit with guilt, with shame for not finishing everything on your to-do list? You feel guilty for not working, and then you feel guilty for not being present with your loved ones. As a solopreneur, it's really hard to find that perfect balance between your relationship and your business. So if you are in need of some advice from an expert on how to improve your relationship to your partner and to your business, you are going to want to watch this entire episode, because today I have Tracey-Anne Greenhow on the show. She is a love and relationship coach. She helps people manifest true love and live the life of their dreams. Happy Valentine's Day from me and Tracey-Anne, and we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome, Tracey-Anne. I'm so excited for you to be here today and share with us all of the relationship and love advice for us solopreneurs who have a hard time stepping away from our work, stepping away from our businesses. And I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you became a love and relationship coach.
Well, there's a story. So 10 years ago, I met Daniel, and I'd been single my whole life. So I was just like really ready for a boyfriend. So I did quite a lot of work on myself. And I actually met Daniel exactly a year before we got together at the same friend's birthday party. And, you know, it's really interesting because I've got friends that go, well, do you believe in love at first sight and that big thing? And I'm like, well, I sort of do and I sort of don't. And it sort of depends. Because I met Daniel exactly a year before, but I was very much a different person. My life was a bit upside down. I was about to move from London back to my hometown and move in with my parents to kind of get my stuff together, if you like. And then when I was ready to move back to London, sort of 9 months later, I was like, right, it's time for him to come now. Like I'm totally ready. So I moved to London on the 8th of August. I started what is now my 5-step manifesting process to manifest true love. I didn't realize it was a 5-step process then. I was just kind of going through the motions, reading all these books, clearing loads of stuff, doing what I know as the work now. And went out on the 10th of October, 2010. And we were dancing on this dance floor, and there was this guy who just kind of came up to me, and it was a real creepy. I mean, I'm advertising, so I remember him, probably a nice guy, but I was just like, oh no, not you! It's not you. And I turned around, and it was like a vision appeared, and there was Daniel, and I was like, I know you, and he was like, yeah, I'm Dan. Okay, Dan, that's nice. We got talking. He insisted on buying me a drink, and we haven't stopped 10 years later, you know. And the funny thing is actually he went to the same university as one of my friends from my hometown, and I've been to the university that he went to watch a show that he was a production manager for, and I've only found this out sort of years down the line. So I feel like the universe always had him there, always had him ready sort of for me. I like to believe in that kind of woo-woo side of things a little bit, because it just makes me feel like there's a different energy on my side as much as possible. So yeah, so here we are, 2 kids, a house, and multiple businesses later. Woo!
So you're both entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
I love
nuts, but it fits really well, because at the moment we are in a national lockdown again. We've gone back into our 3rd lockdown, only this time schools are closed. We've chosen to take our 18-month-old out of nursery. And we, you know, I'm sat here talking to you now, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon where I am, and we've done the school day and we shared it. And I mean, even doing that, I was still gritting my teeth and feeling uptight. So heaven knows what it would be like to have my 18-month-old Toby under my arm and also trying to homeschool Oscar. And I did in the first lockdown, that is what I did, because Dan had much bigger clients, and our lives were going in a slightly different direction. So yeah, we're both entrepreneurs, and it is a bit like having kids, actually. It's beautiful and ugly all at the same time.
Yes, I love that. And I always love the duality and like paradox of just not just relationships, but just everything in life. Like there's always the beauty and the ugly, if you will.
Yeah, the light and the dark, everything. Just, yeah, it's all there for the taking.
all there. So I love your journey, and I love that, being 10 years into a relationship, I can just tell by speaking with you, like how connected and, your relationship is really strong. And so, yeah, do you have any advice for us? I know you do, but what is the first piece of advice that comes to mind when you think of solopreneurs who have a hard time not working, stepping away from their other baby, their business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I'm just going to highlight, it is difficult. It's a juggling act. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I've got this down, because it is a constant work in progress. Because when you're an entrepreneur, and especially if you're a solopreneur, I don't feel very, there are parts of my business that are solo, but we're very intertwined. So in some ways that makes it harder. In some ways it's easier. But it's not easy, and it's constantly evolving. Entrepreneurship is that constant juggling, stepping back, reviewing, launching, feast, famine, if you want to run business that way. So what I would always say to people is, the most important thing above everything has to be just you, separate of a relationship, separate of a business, separate of your children. So what I always say to people is, in my life, the world goes like this: Tracy-Anne, Tracy-Anne, Tracy-Anne and Daniel, Tracy-Anne, Daniel and the kids, and then the businesses hang kind of either side. Now, there will be some people listening where that can't be the situation. Either it's a mindset thing, either it's an actual practicality thing. Like, maybe it needs to be them, then the kids, then the husband, then the business. Or it needs to just be the business, because for the next 3 months, you're doing something in your business that totally impacts financially to the whole family, to your mental health, to your well-being. And so you put that first. But I still think fundamentally, when you break it down, it's you, then everything else. I always list myself twice. And if you've noticed, actually, in the list, I come up 3 times.
Yeah.
Me, and. So, yeah, there aren't any rules. It's about finding what works for you. And usually when you're finding what works for you, it hurts, and there are mistakes. And that's
Right.
okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship needs to end,
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the 2 yous? Is it like spiritual you, physical you?
Yeah, I'm still working on that. I've got to be honest. It's I think at the moment, as we're in a lockdown, it is spiritual me. So right now it is super important that I exercise, because I've got a fieriness in me, and naturally I think I could be and I do shout sometimes, and I try not to, but I can be a shouty mum, not something I want to be. So I'm always working on that, and exercise and meditation, essential oils. Those things are the things that, if I don't do it, it hurts everybody. So that's why I have to be that. Otherwise, the kids get a terrible mum. Daniel gets a bit of a rubbish wife, and he's kind of then, he steps up and has to support me. And we should always be supporting ourselves first, because otherwise what happens is we have too much expectation on the relationship. And then you end up with bigger issues like codependency and things like that it just makes it less fun.
Yeah, for sure. A lot harder. I saw a quote recently that was, normalize renegotiating our priorities, like, all the time. And I
Yeah.
love that. That's what came up in my mind when you were like, this visual of a pyramid of priorities, or the importance, and then being able to just like flip them around and renegotiate, like how, and not necessarily renegotiate like putting you at the bottom, but it's like, what are the things within that block of you and your partner that you can physically do and spend your time on. And like you said, right now it's exercising and meditating and essential oils, but for me, it changes within that activity too. So yeah, I love that. That's really great.
Absolutely. And in a couple of weeks, when we maybe emerge from what on earth is going on, actually there might be it'll change again, because as well we have seasons. So the weather changes. That means we go from being indoors to outdoors more, which shifts, the time paradigm that we live in. And so, do you know what I think? Actually, now that we've got really stuck in, I think, and I keep saying this to myself over and over again over the last couple of days, because we're literally day 2 of homeschool, and day 3 of homeschool, and we're doing really well at it. So, but that's just because of this setup that we've been able to carve for ourselves. But what I keep saying when I'm having those moments of, oh, he knows how to read that word, why all of a sudden can't he read it? I don't understand. Why is he fidgeting? Why is he? And it's just like, actually, he's just him and he's perfect. And so the thing that I keep saying to myself, and a good friend of mine said this to me, the most flexible people get the best results. So sometimes, and I think what that means is, especially right now, I was looking at my door frames in the kitchen. I have an 18-month-old. So, and I looked at them and I was like, and on Tuesday morning, first day of homeschool, Dan's in the office doing his work. I'm doing homeschool and the 18-month-old. And I'm stood there with a rag rubbing the door. And I went, what are you doing? This is not for now. Like, this is a standard. I want my house clean, but we've nearly been in lockdown pretty much for a year. We can't, childcare is limited, work is high. Having a cleaner in is not something we really want to do at the moment. Why am I stood wiping the door down when it's first day of homeschool? It's, it's either that little bit of escape and that's okay. But the other thing is I'm stood there getting stressed because it's dirty, but then I take that into homeschooling. So the thing that I go is, the most flexible people get the best results. And then I take a deep breath. It doesn't always work. Like, I'm not trying to say I'm perfect. What I'm trying to say is that practicing some tiny techniques when you're a solopreneur is vital. Just little moments, you can get so far down the rabbit hole, but you can always come back. It doesn't matter at what point you catch yourself,
Right.
So yeah.
I love the flexibility too. I think it comes into play with time management and just, running our businesses, being able to, I know a lot of people, one of the biggest things is creating a schedule or a list and then not being able to follow it perfectly stresses so many people out. And, when you are flexible around your schedule, like being able to, move things around as easily as possible, like that's when you are most successful. That's when you're least stressed out. That's when you're more in the flow with your work and you get more done and then you have more time off. So yeah, I love flexibility.
You are so onto something there, because Daniel and I now joke about how little work we actually do. Like the output is so little. So I also, one of my many businesses, one of them is a massage business, and I run it in this little shed that we're in. And I love it because a lot of what I do is online, a bit like this, I'm chatting to people, which is great. But I love energy and physical touch, and it is different. So in a lockdown situation, I've had to close my business for the 3rd time this last 12-month cycle, and I don't know. I think having that outlet and being able to do that is like my solo thing, and I have to be on my game with just stupid stuff like cleaning and washing sheets and all of that stuff. That job is probably one of the lower paid jobs that I do. It takes me the most amount of time, and we laugh about this all the time, and I'm like, I wouldn't change it because I love doing it, and until my body can't do it anymore, I'll keep doing it. It doesn't matter like what money I earn in other revenue. But yeah, I mean, we've set up things that, we have a few passive things. I do a lot of coaching to help people manifest true love, and it's so impactful. It's so impactful to the client. It's impactful for me because I get that connection, but financially it boosts our family and gives me more time with them. So it's like everybody is winning, and that's the great bit about being an entrepreneur, when you're in control of everything. It's also the worst bit about being an entrepreneur. You're in control of everything.
Yeah, for sure. So one, quick question, like, why do you think it's so hard for solopreneurs or small business owners, really, any entrepreneur to take that step away from their business, or to actually be present with their loved one, their partner, or themselves?
So it's, for me, I'm actually, I don't like to come on podcasts and go, I've got, blow my own trumpet too much, because I'm human and I'm flawed and I don't always get this right. But actually, I am very good at going, we're switching everything off. And it is a choice. It is a choice. It's about going, no, I need a break. I need a break, and I don't need to be working all the time. I think there's this panic in people that if you're not there in your business all the time, it's either going to break, the money's going to stop, or the money will never come. And if you take time off, if the money has to, say you go on holiday for a couple of weeks, for example, if there's no money coming in that time because you're not manifesting it, not doing the work, the outreach, there's this big fear that in 2 weeks when you get back, you have to start your business again. And it's not the case. I mean, I know this from lockdown, like my massage business, it springs back. People are a bit more reluctant and have been over the last 12 months. So it has impacted, but it still springs back, So I think people need more faith in what they've created, and make that time for downtime. Because, when Daniel and I stop, and what we've learned is when we go on holiday, we earn more money. And the reason that is because that's when the ideas flow. It's the shower.
Mm-hmm.
When people talk about, how does idea in the shower? I'm like, I do not think about ideas in the shower. Like, where's my rain of ideas? It doesn't bloody happen. It doesn't happen. I stand there and I'm like, come on, man, give me some ideas. I've tried crazy shampoos and all sorts. It just doesn't work for me. But I know it works for a lot of people. But it's the same thing for me. Cocktails, and then we just chat, and then we have ideas. And so this office that I'm sitting in at the bottom of my garden was an idea that we had for years and years, we were working towards. And then we went to it was my mum's 60th birthday, and we all went away for the weekend. And Dan and I left Oscar at the time. Yeah, it was just Oscar, we didn't have Toby. We left Oscar with my mum and dad, and we went off for a walk. And that's when we decided, right, we're going to build this. Where are we going to get it from? And we looked it up. Oh, we can do that. Actually, he said, you should do massage as well. I was like, well, I'm doing coaching. Like, I don't need to. And he was like, no, you've always talked about doing it. Why not do it? He said, if you don't use it, it doesn't matter. Went that day, found the right course. Literally, that was in the July. My mum's birthday is the 20th of July. The third week in August, we were building it in the bottom of the garden. And in the September, I was away on the massage course on a retreat learning deep tissue massage. I was open on the last day in September. I'm just like, so when you give yourself space, when you give yourself the freedom to play, magic really does happen. And so the only way for you to know that it works is to try it, is to let yourself play. And so it's really hard because it is a choice, but you carve out time. I'm sure that's probably what you tell your clients, isn't it? That
Oh yeah.
you carve out the time, you make it. I hate that saying, you make time, but it's so true. You do.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
And a lot of it, what I heard also is like that reassurance, that trust. You have to trust yourself and your business and the thing that you created, and reassure yourself that it will be okay. Like, have that conversation, tell yourself, I can take this time off. And like, it doesn't happen. You have to make it happen. You have to prioritize whatever you want to happen. So if you want creativity and you want magic and you want things to flow, like, that requires you to step away. Like, you cannot get flow through by working all the time.
Yeah, because you're in this high sort of adrenaline. What's the state?
Like sympathetic. You're thinking of brain waves, huh?
Yeah, but they're one of the same thing, aren't they? And I can never say the sympathetic and parasympathetic. I teach that stuff, and I still struggle with those words. But yeah, there we go.
I always used to get them mixed up. Like I always said
Yeah,
the wrong one when like I'm like, okay, activate your sympathetic nervous system. And it's like, no, don't do that.
exactly what you don't want to do.
Right. But it does help us run away from tigers.
It really does. And you know, I have met a few tigers, but they've been in my dreams. So yeah, I've not actually met real tigers. I mean, we've come pretty close. With the 5-year-old, you face T-Rexes in the forest, and you know it's quite intense. But we, yeah, not actual real ones where we have to run.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say to people is, you know, if as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, we have this kind of thing in our head sometimes, and I sort of do as well, that we think we're never going to retire. And you might not want to, and that's totally fine, but you also might get to a point where you want to, or you might get to a point where actually you need to. And so it should always be a factor, a decision, you know, that is made. And when it comes to relationships, what I say to people is sometimes you might not have your business, but you always have people, whether it be friendships or, you know, having an actual intimate relationship with a human. Maybe you're married to them, maybe you're not, but whatever it is, that sort of you know, deep soulful connection that you get when you're in a partnership. I think it's so important to have that. I honestly, like, I know I'm a woman, and some people might hate me for saying this, but there are so many things in my business that I would not got as far as quickly if it weren't for Daniel, because he does all the marketing side. He's a very clever man. All of my everything technical that you see about me is because of him, and I'm happy with that. And I could learn it and I could outsource it, but it would cost more money, so I don't want to do that.
Right.
And I don't want to learn it because it's a headache. And why would I learn something that he spent, you know, the best part of 15 years learning for us? And so, you know, it makes life easier if you've got this partnership of support. And it might not be that they're your tech guy, it might be that actually they're your chef, or they're just your person that checks in with you and makes sure you're all right. Maybe they're the one like forcing you to move away from your desk and go for a walk and take care of yourself. Or maybe they're just that sounding board for you. Whatever it is, it's just better to have company, especially in business, I think.
Yeah. And that kind of, you know, leads me to the question that I wanted to ask, like, how do you believe relationships impact our business? And I know we've already kind of like touched on that. I think,
Mm.
you know, I have you know, my husband is he's a SEO, like content writer, blog writer. And so he has this, you know, it's just beautiful. We get to collaborate on those things. But, you know, even if you don't have a partner that is entrepreneurial or like doing somewhat similar things to you, like there's still room to bring your business into your relationship in some way, to collaborate and to use the relationship to help each other, you know, like that's the whole
Yeah.
point of collaboration. So do you have any other like things you want to mention, or tips or advice or whatever around like relationships and our businesses and, you know, our time management, our ability to get things done?
Yeah, I mean, it is different for everybody. And so I think it's so important that each individual person look very closely at your individual situation. You know, right now I have dirty door frames because we're in a lockdown and I have 2 kids. And if I didn't have 2 kids, they probably wouldn't be dirty. And so I look at, you know, because this is just something that's come up in the last couple of days for me. There are loads of other things, but I look at those door frames now, and part of me cringes. The other part goes, that's because I'm blessed with 2 children. And I know that there are people out there that would, you know, that would love those dirty door frames. And so I, while I have my right to cringe over it, I do also go, well, isn't that lovely? So I'm really all about trying to make things as simple and as straightforward as possible. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate what we're doing. We make it so fancy. We give these long lists that we've got to get everything done. And we all know, everybody knows by now, we're all old enough and ugly enough to know that that to-do item on that list doesn't take 20 minutes, it takes 3 days. And it's, you know, it's that time is such a, yeah, I don't know if anybody will ever really get to grips with time. So we need to stop fighting it. We just need to use it to our advantage, and just, you know, if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. You know, I think so long as you're not making appointments with people and not showing up, or, you know, you're not being delivering the service that you promise you're going to deliver, or doing things that are particularly unhealthy, I think everything else, like folding your washing and getting it put away, is a really nice thing to do. But you could just also leave it in the basket and shut it in a cupboard and just rummage. Yes, it takes longer, it is quicker to get it done and put away, but like right now I've got baskets of clean laundry that I'm like, I need to put them away, but it's full on at the moment. And so in a few weeks, when all this is done, we'll go back. And so there I come back to the thing of the most flexible people get the best results. It really is that. And also, you know, like with Daniel and I at the moment, because we're both working in this very strange situation with 2 children underfoot, we have to communicate as clearly as possible about what the other one, right, what do you have to get done today? And literally, it's kids is brilliant. I think you can do this without kids, but kids is brilliant because you go, right, that's going to take me an hour. And it really does take you an hour, because, you know, you've got to tag out and someone else has got to come in. And, you know, so the other, do you recommend that people use the Pomodoro technique? Because I'm a huge fan of that.
So I host co-working sessions where we do it together, but it's not like you don't, I believe you don't have to. And I find that, you know, some people like it, and I'm a holistic time coach. So I'm like, what works for you? You know, some people like 45-minute sprints. Some people like, it doesn't, you know, whatever works for you is what is most successful. But no, coming back to that flexibility, right? Like renegotiating your priorities. And I think a relationship seems to be like a really good practice for, you know, but our businesses, like our relationship to our business and our relationship to ourselves, and, you know, to our partner, you know, friends, everybody. So
I think some people think that if they put their business down for 5 minutes, they might forget to go back to it. That's what I think they think is going to happen. And I'm like, no, you won't, because everything's on your mobile phone, and you'll have that with you even when you're having sofa time or you know, holidays or whatever. Your phone's always there, you can always dip in. But it's, you know, I think it's just so important to remember that you're not gonna forget that you have a business. And, you know, people that I've always heard people say, oh no, I don't want to have a baby because I'd like leave it on a bus or something. No one ever does. Actually, some people have done that, so I'm not judging them, but the majority of people don't leave their kids lying around because it's, you know, and if they do, they go back and get them. So
because it's important to you.
Exactly. And so I just think people need to trust themselves a bit more. And one word that is coming up when I'm speaking with you is permission. I think especially as women, it'll be men as well, but especially as women, we need permission to drop the ball when we want to let things slide, to allow the gender norms to fade away, so that you can be, you know, because if you don't, I think if you want to identify as a woman or a feminine person or a masculine person in a relationship, and let's say you want to identify as the feminine one, it's hard to do that and also let stuff slide because of our conditioning. And I would say that's something else actually that I think we've got a great dynamic on. The gender normal jobs are very much Daniel's job, really, and I help sometimes.
I love that. And
50-50.
The flexibility with gender norms and that masculine feminine energy, right? Like the give and take of both of them come up for me as well. And I love permission, like giving yourself permission to let the door frames be dirty for the next week or two. Like that's fine. That's okay.
Let yourself have dirty door frames. I mean, honestly, that's a chapter of a book, I swear. I'm gonna get right. Dirty door frames. Yeah, no, that's
I love it.
I like
It
that.
made me think of, I had this moment, me and my husband, we just quit our 9 to 5s and like are traveling kind of like digital nomads right now. And
Yeah.
we right before we moved, I had this moment where I literally broke down on the bed and I was like, I don't want to do anything anymore. And like I just, yeah, like I had to give myself permission to not do anything. And I do
Yeah,
that constantly. I think it's really, really, really important to just
absolutely.
let it all go.
No, it so is, and it's freeing. But you know what? For those of you out there that might be listening that are sort of going, oh, how do I find time for my relationship? Or how do I find time to manifest a relationship when I'm running a business and it's so important? Just be okay with the fact that it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable to begin with, and that's all right. And just like when you started your business, it was uncomfortable. It won't probably be anywhere near as bad as that is. Anything, starting anything, I think is the first bit is just the hardest. And so you absolutely, you can have it all. You can have your cake and eat it. And I think people don't realize that. But so many women are doing it now. So many women are doing it. There are so many people out there. And I never thought I'd be able to sit and have a conversation like this and be like, that's me. Like we're in the house now. We're going, can you believe this is our life? Like, I mean, it's hard and it's stressful in our way. We're all having our stresses. But we completely cultivated this. 5 years ago, Oscar's 5.5. So 5 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mum. Dan was working in an office sort of 25 minutes away. Life was very different. I probably still had dirty door frames, to be fair.
I love it. That's great.
But yeah.
I love it. So do you have any advice also for the people, the solopreneurs that are single, that are trying to manifest love in a relationship right now and with their business, juggling their business?
I think the one thing that I would say, and I think you might say the same thing actually, if there's anything where there's something you want in your life and there's something a bit more important, but they should both equally be important, get some support. Hire someone like you or me and get the support of someone who knows how to get you there fast, because there's one thing that we all need. It's sometimes to just fast track some of the stuff that we could spend years trying to do. The process that I used helped me manifest Daniel in 8 weeks. Some of my clients have beat that record, but it isn't about how fast you do it. It's about the quality and what you get out of it at the end. And so, it's really, what I teach is all about just falling in love with yourself. And whether you're in a relationship, so I mainly help people manifest true love. That's my main job. But even if you're in a relationship, my advice would be fall in love with you, like who you are, do that work. And if you're in a relationship, you can do it alongside being in a relationship. And if you're not, do it before, because then you're going to really make sure that you manifest the right person.
Yeah, I love that. That's so great. But just because it's Valentine's Day, do you have any special rituals that you like to do with your partner to just feel super connected, or even with yourself? What is your love ritual that you'd like to share?
So this is a really difficult question, because it's funny. What it's brought up for me is actually, especially in a lockdown situation, because we will still be locked in our houses, so we won't be able to go out for meal, we won't be able to get any childcare, so we'll be in the house, is actually, there's, at the moment for us as a couple, there's a lot of business kids flop together, rest together, and it literally is Netflix and chill. And so, yeah, flop. So maybe I'll clean the door frames on Valentine. No, I'm absolutely joking. I'm not doing that. I'm totally not doing that. There isn't anything that we do every year, because that word's coming back in again of flexibility. it might be something that we're entering a new phase of our relationship, because I've had the last child that I want to have, and Toby's 18 months. So we're going out, we're slowly getting out of that baby stage. So for the last 5 years, it's been about growing, birthing, raising a family. And I know that will continue, but it's kind of like, I've got that sorted. So what that's brought up for me is, we need some rituals, because we don't really have any. But what do we do to connect? Well, so I think a lot of couples do this. It's really simple. If you've got kids, you feed them first, you get them to bed, you might nibble on something yourselves, and then you sit down and you have a really nice dinner. My choice would always be steak with Prosecco or something like that. And if you don't have childcare, then you may get interrupted, but that's okay. So it's just kind of having no real expectation. But I'm a really simple girl. For somebody that helps people manifest true love, like I said, I got married 5 years ago today, didn't have a wedding, just wanted the paperwork done. And I'm not judging people that have weddings. I think they're beautiful. They are very ceremonious, but I'm just not that bothered about that, I'm not a high maintenance girl. For me, it is about that time and going out for a meal and doing all of those things. So I'm going to have to reevaluate it as we come back to normal and can go out for dinner again, because I think that's probably what we do. We're a big go out for dinner and talk couple.
Yeah.
So it's a very long answer to a very short question. We go out for a meal, which we can't do this year.
I love it. Food is our love language as well. So I'm right there with y'all. I love food so much. Sweet. Well, do you have any other thing that you would like to share, or if someone wanted to work with you, where would they go to connect and find you on the interwebs?
Yep. So my lovely husband is the techie geek. So he's put together this lovely page where you can just go. It's connect.findthatmatch.com. And on there's a free masterclass for anyone. Really, it's for single people. There's a masterclass on the 5 steps and how you can work with me if you want to. So I would advise people to go there, connect.findthatmatch.com.
Beautiful. And we'll put the link somewhere on the bottom of this somewhere.
Yeah. I love that.
Sweet. Well, Tracy-Anne, thank you so much. I really appreciate our conversation today. I think it was a really important one to have, especially right now, this week coming up.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions for me or Tracy-Anne, feel free to throw them in the comments below. And we'll see you again shortly soon.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, y'all.